Minoru Yamasaki, designer of the World Trade Center Twin Towers, had a vision of a world in balance. I feel this way about it. World trade means world peace, and consequently, the World Trade Center buildings in New York had a bigger purpose than just to provide room for tenants. The World Trade Center is a living symbol of man's dedication to world peace. Beyond the compelling need to make this a monument to world peace, the World Trade Center should, because of its importance, become a representation of man's belief in humanity, his need for individual dignity, his belief in the cooperation of men, and through cooperation, his ability to find greatness. Minoru Yamasaki, greatbuildings.com. Divine Discoveries at Ground Zero, a multimedia presentation by Connie Baxter Marlow. Presented in Sedona, Arizona, January 16, 2004. Aspen, Colorado, June 28, 2005. An uplifting look at the events of September 11, 2001. That triggered the opening of the human heart and the rebirth of America. Heralding the coming of peace on earth. With substantiating evidence and perceptions of America. For more information, go to theamericanevolution.com, youtube.com, The American Evolution. Substantiating evidence. Angel Lopez, RN, rescue worker at Ground Zero, September 15th to October 4th, 2001.
The cross that is now the memorial at Ground Zero was taken out of, I believe it was Building 1, out of the rubble, and is now being used as a memorial. I was there the night that that cross was found. It was about 2 o'clock in the morning. One of the safety inspectors came and got us, and one of the priests, and said we needed to come and see this. We walked through the rubble. In Building 1, there was a piece of escalator about this wide left, and it was on its side because you had to climb up into the rubble. It was 12 stories high. You had to climb up into the rubble, and then when you got up to the top, then you looked down into this huge pit. And they had, you'll see the pictures of the broken structure around it. The floodlights were around such that they were flooding into this huge pit. And in that pit, standing fully erect, were this huge cross made out of steel beams from the build itself. And it took my breath away. I hadn't remembered what we were doing there until that moment. And I thought, oh my God, we dare to tread these souls without regard. And so I had to stop for a minute and realize that where we were daring to tread was a huge graveyard. And now I had a cross as a tombstone to sort of signify that. And I stopped at that moment and asked the universe what was going on. And everybody was angry. And I know that each of those souls that lost a life that day at the World Trade Center, at the Pentagon, on Flight 93, experienced fear and terror and panic and chaos in the last minutes of their lives. But I also believe that as soon as they transitioned, as soon as they passed over, that they remembered that they had agreed to do this, that they had come home, and their homecoming was to give us a message, a gift of love, a gift of awakening, and for us to not accept the gift is to dishonor those souls, not to grieve their deaths. You can't imagine the immensity of the area that we're talking about. And so it was the only thing that was upright. I mean, I think that was what stood out about it. Everything was toppled, everything was gray and smoking, and the floodlights were coming in, and everything was a shambles. And the only thing upright was this cross. We couldn't walk to it yet. It wasn't so that we could walk up to it and actually touch it. It was too far for us to be and too dangerous for anybody to do that at that moment. So I didn't get close enough to touch it. But we stood out, and just everybody. There was just hundreds of rescue workers, just sort of in silence, standing in awe. The cross is a huge Christian symbol within our country, and with the whole unity of the Americans at the moment, I think it just felt very unifying for everybody at that time. And I stood on that rubble, and I did not hear those souls' anger. I did not hear rage. I did not hear vengeance. I heard, "Wake up. Look what you're doing to yourselves. Look what we have done. This is what anger does. Please don't let this happen anymore, anywhere on this planet."